Yeah, but Pam, how come no one's been indicted yet?
Nothing. You're a great stock trader, as I hear, Raskin.
Donald Trump finally tells the truth for once, as he...
Just wanted to ask you, have you had a chance to review?
Why does Mormon Jesus always...
ធ្វើការផ្លឹកផ្លឹកដល់ខែចូលឆ្នាំចិនទៀតហើយបងប្អូនដាច់ចូលឆ្នាំចិន
Epstein donated 40,000.
ស្នូប្រឡងដាក់ប្រម៉ូសិន
ក្រសួងបរិស្ថានបាន
ក្រុមហ៊ុនស្រាបៀរគឺមានភាពជោគជ័យមួយគឺ
នៅសាលាឬក៏ទៅណាក៏ដោយបើសិនជាខ្ញុំអត់ប្រាប់គេទេ
You need 3.
I want to know, what do Republicans say to each other when we're not listening about what's happening in America right now?
What is happening in the world of show business? This 60-year-old pilot has just been arrested while... Listen up,
I'm here in Cambodia on Koh Rong, staying...
Success means delayed gratification.
Megyn Kelly thought that mocking...
នេះเป็นหนึ่งในเมลจาก Epstein file
A $2 billion AI wealth management company has just wiped...
ខ្ញុំត្រូវចាំរៀនកាហ្វេសារចេញមានប្រទេសថ្ងៃ
My only problem with ICE is that they're going after every minority group except black people.
The Stop Asian Hate bill was symbolic anyway, so I guess we can bring it back. If you know anything about Hans Kim, you're not surprised. This is the same man who made this comment about the Little Mermaid.
Come back to America and what do I see? Black Little Mermaid. One of the races that are known for being one of the worst at swimming.
This is the same man that ranked his least favorite racial groups or ethnic groups.
Number 1, least favorite minority group, according to Hans Kim, is the blacks.
At some point, I think you just hate black people. You might be wondering, why would someone do this? Especially since a lot of these jokes are very tired. You know, we heard them in the early 2000s. You might be wondering, like, well, why are we still doing this in this day and age? And I mean, he might actually like hate black people. I'm assuming at this point he does, because that's just his material over the same years. He makes $300,000 a year, maybe more now, to say these mediocre racist jokes.
Make like 300K, so 30 weekends.
Dude, that's insane.
You even launched...
Jeffrey Epstein built a small mosque.
Lunar New Year is...
Watch this insane footage, and this is why...
This actual vote to repeal the tariffs.
So remember on Monday when Donald Trump randomly started threatening to block the opening of the Gordie Howe Bridge, that massive bridge that connects Michigan to Canada?
The majority of the U.S. House of Representatives has voted to back a resolution that would end Donald Trump's tariffs on Canada. The vote was 219 to 211, which is significant because it means some Republicans joined Democrats in their objections.
Well, rental...
Major increase is in housing prices. Okay, so Canada these past 5 years has seen a huge influx of immigrants, and this has caused housing prices to skyrocket. The United States, which has a much larger economy than Canada, the housing prices are pretty stable. You can still afford to buy a house if you're a young person in the United States, not in Canada. Okay, you see this huge spike in Canada. The housing prices are now unaffordable. This is a chart that shows you economic growth as compared to housing prices. So as you can see in the United States, housing prices, there's a correlation between income and housing prices. Okay, this is
President Trump just did something that people on the left and the right have been begging for. He just announced that he's banning large institutional investors like BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, and Blackstone from buying up single-family homes and renting them back to you. As soon as President Trump announced this, you can see that Blackstone stock plummeted, erasing $18 billion in one day. And a company called American...
We are headed into a national housing emergency. Legit, check it out. We are going into a national housing emergency, according to Donald J. Trump and Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary. I'd like to tell you what this means, if it's actually going to fix housing, and what are the core problems in housing that actually need to be solved. I make longer videos to make sure we go in-depth on real problems, so save for later if you don't have time. Zoning, building, and financing are the three core problems that our housing market faces. Zoning, if you're unaware of what it is, it's how we cut up our country and say, you can build this here, but not that there. 75% of our country is single-family zoning. And aside from that, most zoning laws in America were set in place about 55 years ago in 1970. Fun fact for you, 1970 was 4 years before the Fair Credit Act. And the Fair Credit Act of 1974 allowed women and people of color to be able to get a mortgage. So we set in stone our zoning laws before people of color could even get a mortgage. If you walked into a bank in 1972 and you were a woman, they could just say, get out of here, woman. And you'd have to get out. Building, we need to build more homes, but we need to build more affordable homes. We can't just build a bunch of supply and expect problems to get solved. Let me ask, where is the affordable housing? I'll tell you exactly where.
The median full-time salary in the UK as of the latest data is around £39,000 a year. Sounds okay, right? But let's run it through the government's own system. After you've paid your income tax and your national insurance, that £39,000 becomes £30,500. That means every month your actual take-home pay is £2,540. Now, what is the magic number to survive in the United Kingdom in 2026? Not to thrive, not to save for a fancy holiday, but to simply exist. To pay your rent, keep the lights on, and feed yourself. For the past several weeks, I've been living in spreadsheets. I've pushed aside the headlines and the political spin and gone straight to the source. ONS data, HMRC, payroll figures, rental market indices, Ofgem. I wanted to build a budget from the ground up based on the real numbers to find that magic number. And the figure I landed on is genuinely terrifying. More than that, it...
You know why I care about Epstein? You know why I personally...
If you don't get in the game of homeownership and you rent in your 20s and you rent in your 30s, you're going to turn around in your 40s and having not built any net worth.
Am I not better off renting and investing in the stock market versus buying a house?
I want to bust this myth because what happens is people come on and they go, the stock market over the last 20 years has averaged over 10% annually. People go, the returns are better in the stock market than in real estate. Yeah, but that's not apples to apple comparison.
The majority of Australian cities have officially hit the most unaffordable housing market. So Sydney coming in at number 2, Adelaide I'm from Adelaide. Adelaide number 6 next to Los Angeles. I mean, what the fuck does Adelaide have in common with LA? Melbourne coming in at number 9, Brisbane 11, and Perth 14. That's pretty much... Wow,
What policy do you support to make it easier for young people to buy homes?
Get rid of BlackRock purchasing a bunch of homes and renting them back to us.
Okay, so like seize their assets?
Not seize their assets. Make it illegal that asset managers over $500 billion can't buy single-family homes.
Okay, I really agree with that. That's actually that's great.
Thank you. Yeah. It's a super simple policy fix. If you have assets under management over $500 billion or $100 billion, you should not be in the single-family home business, period.
Okay.
And that's artificially boosting housing prices across the country. I believe homeownership is a moral good for all humans.
What policy do you support?
China versus the US with the cost of everyday things in US dollars. And if you stare at this chart enough, you are going to think, oh my gosh, people in China live so much better and more affordably than those in the United States. Let me show you. A new compact car in China cost $18,488, while the biggest line.
Bong bong.
You think I don't dare to show you the real estate?
Millions of Filipinos may never own a decent home.
This is the largest affordable housing development in New York City in 4 decades, right here at Willets Point. But how?
Tell me why we pay $3,000 in rent and we don't own a house.
Why we pay $3,000 and why we don't own?
People think $3,000 is outrageous. And why can't we buy a house?
Like a mortgage? Why we don't have a mortgage?
Yes.
Well, it's not that I can't pay a mortgage. I can pay less less on the mortgage, because I know what they're getting at. I could pay less on the mortgage, but I also have to do maintenance and repairs on the house, right? Depending on the year of the house, right? It comes into play with maintenance. Plus, I got to pay taxes. So depending on where you're living and whatever area you're in, yeah, you got to pay the taxes.
Stop rushing to buy a house just to say you own something. Guys, there's nothing wrong with renting if the opportunity to buy.
How much of a house can you afford if you make $150,000 a year? Well, let's take a look at it. We're gonna take $150,000. We're gonna multiply that by 40%. That's the typical debt to income ratio a lender's gonna use when qualifying you for a loan. So that's 60,000 divided by 12 months gives you a monthly allowance of $5,000. So if you don't have any debts, you can use up to $5,000. But if you do have debts, what are debts? Car payments, personal loans, credit cards, student loans. So in this example, let's say this person has a $500 car payment and $500 of student loans. We're going to subtract that from the $5,000, bringing it down to $4,000. Now, what's in that $4,000? It's your principal and interest, your property taxes, your homeowner's insurance, potential HOA, and potential PMI if you put down less than 20%. So how much of a house can you afford? If you put down 5%, you could get into a $600,000 home. If you put down 20%, you could get into a $700,000 home. So I recommend talking to a professional lender. You can go over your numbers and you can see what works best for you and your family. How much of a house can you...
Don't ever sell your house.
Yeah, if you be able to pay.
I'd rather pay $2,400 in rent than $2,400 in mortgage, because I can get out of that rent every 10 months. That mortgage is 30 years, and I don't think it's throwing money away to rent. If you live in your home and you pay the expenses of the home, that is not an investment. That is an expense by definition. And by the way, your home should not even go on your net worth statement. I'd rather pay $2,400 in rent than $2,400 in mortgage, because I can get out of that rent every 10 months. That mortgage is 30 years, and I don't think it's throwing money away to rent. If you live in your home and you pay the expenses of the home.
$400 a month, not rent. Owner.
Buy 10 rental houses before you're 30 years old. If you can buy 10 rental houses before you're 30 and you own those 10 rental houses at the age.
I am renting out my two.
Right now, I'm standing in Detroit.
New affordable.
If I don't pay this tax bill, the government is going to take my house. But that doesn't sound...
Did you know that
The majority of the U.S. House of Representatives has voted to back a resolution that would end Donald Trump's tariffs on Canada. The vote was 219 to 211, which is significant because it means some Republicans joined Democrats in their objections to the president's trade policies. The resolution seeks to end the national emergency that Trump invoked in February 2025 to empower his tariffs on a range of imports from Canada. The majority...
If you ever wonder why people are cutting off their Trump-supporting family members, President Trump's tariff power?
We have some major news. A member of Congress just confirmed that Donald Trump is in the redacted Epstein files over 1 million times. No, that number is not an exaggeration. Representative Jamie Raskin, who had access to the unredacted files yesterday, as all members of Congress did, said that when he viewed them, when you looked up Donald Trump's name, it appears more than 1 million times. He also said that at least one of the files he found appears to contradict what Trump has publicly claimed about his association with Epstein. The document is a 2009 email between Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell in which Epstein recounted his lawyer's account of a phone call with Trump. Trump is paraphrased and quoted as saying, "No, Epstein was not a member of Mar-a-Lago, but he was a guest at Mar-a-Lago, and no, we never asked him to leave." This means that the DOJ's protection of Donald Trump goes much deeper than we previously thought. I mean, they redacted his...
We have some major news this morning. Without any explanation, the Trump administration has just shut down all flights, including Medivac flights, over a U.S. city, the city of El Paso, for a period.
Donald Trump attended various parties.
We have some big news.
President Trump wants to build an ark